On this week's show, this little critter, real little, you can barely see him, but he's running wild this summer and he could make you sick for life. It's summertime, summertime, summertime. And while we're out there having fun, one of the biggest buzzkills is so small you can hardly see it. This little critter is the deer tick, and if you're sharing the great outdoors with Bambi, you could pick up one of these ticks simply by brushing up against the same shrubbery. Blood is on this little bugger's menu, and it will gladly swap some of yours for the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, and the threat is particularly bad this summer. How to avoid Lyme disease and how to know if you've contracted it in time to prevent serious long-term consequences? Let's ask Dr. Joe Alton, who with his advanced nurse practitioner wife Amy has authored, among other books, the Survival Medicine Handbook, the essential guide for when medical help is not on the way. Their website is doomandbloom.net. It has over 1,000 posts and podcasts and videos. Doctor, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Obviously, the best way to avoid Lyme disease is not getting a tick bite, so wear long pants when hiking in the woods and look real closely all over yourself and your clothes afterwards. But Doc, what to do if you spot a tick on your skin?
Well, first, I want to say congratulations, because even though having a tick on your skin isn't the best news you could possibly get, by being observant, you've just reduced your chances of getting Lyme disease exponentially. Now, here's how to remove that tick. Use a fine-tipped tweezers, like what I have here, and grab the tick as close as you possibly can to your skin. Your goal is to get the entire tick, including the head and the mouth parts. Then what you do is you raise it up in a straight, even motion and get the entire tick out of the skin. If you jerk or you twist, what happens is you break off the mouth parts. The mouth stays in the actual skin, which can cause more inflammation. Afterwards, of course, what you want to do is you want to clean the area with soap and water, and you want to, of course, you want to wash your hands.
Now, what about the urban myth you're supposed to light a match and then blow it out and then touch them with a match?
Well, that probably won't be healthy for them, but it will be probably even less healthy for you. And it actually is not known to be as effective a method as simply removing the tick.
Gotcha. Okay, now if you don't spot a tick and you have been bitten, what are the early symptoms and how long do you have to sidestep long-term complications, and what is the treatment?
Well, the good news is that ticks usually don't transmit, even if they bite you, they don't transmit the disease for a good 24, maybe 48 hours. It takes them a while to get the bacteria that causes Lyme disease to go into your body. Now, of course, if symptoms do happen, they'll usually occur probably about 3 days to a month, even a month, after the actual bite. And what you'll see is a spreading rash that oftentimes looks like a bullseye. And this is followed afterwards by fever and chills, by muscle aches, joint aches, and certainly fatigue and other, you almost feel like you have the flu.
Now, by the time you get to that point, is it still time to avoid lifelong complications?
Yeah, actually, the truth of the matter is that it can be treated if it's diagnosed early. Antibiotics like doxycycline are very, very effective in treating the infection and curing the infection if they're used early. But that's the thing, they have to be used early. If you have reached the late stage of Lyme disease, well, they don't work as well. And the truth of the matter is that you'll need to treat based upon the symptoms that you wind up getting, things like nerve damage and, gosh, other major issues that can occur with chronic Lyme.
Yeah, you anticipated my next question. Talk some more about the long-term complications. Is this a disease you have for life?
Well, yeah, so far it appears to be something that may be very, very long-term. They have found people have a lot of issues that seem to affect nerves. They have not only with motor nerves and things like that, but also with the central nervous system, with your brain. People wind up feeling confused, having difficulty focus. People wind up having almost a type of dementia in the really severe cases. And so this is something that is a big issue, very complex, and the problem is that we failed to diagnose this. Since Lyme disease has the look of a lot of other diseases, a lot of physicians overlook it, and a lot of patients, of course, if they don't see the tick, they overlook it as well. They don't find it, and they wind up getting themselves in trouble.
But look for that bullseye. It almost looks like the Target department store logo, right? It's a circle with a dot in the middle.
Yes. Yes,
Gotcha.
exactly. It's called erythema migrans, and it spreads out over time, and it's an interesting rash to look at over the course of a few days because it changes a little bit every day.
Now, about our pets, we live in a real woodsy area, and frankly, one of the reasons we chose a yellow lab was because it's easier to spot ticks than if Roxy was a black lab or a chocolate. So that tick collar is real important, but even with one, we still flick ticks off her often. I know you're not a vet, but our pets are at risk too, right?
Absolutely. You know, dogs, cats, even horses can get Lyme disease, and a pet owner would be very wise to be concerned about ticks, not only for their animal's health, but also for their own. I would say to these people to try to keep your pets out of high grass or shrubby areas. That's where ticks like to hide. So it's something that you definitely want to avoid if possible. And also, before they come in from their outdoor adventure, make sure that you check those dogs and cats and other animals carefully, especially around the head, the neck, and the ears.
Now, the rash, that bullseye, isn't going to be as apparent. What symptoms do you look for to indicate that you missed a tick in your pet, for instance?
Well, the pet actually acts sort of sick. They don't really get that bullseye rash that you see, but the dog or cat will lose appetite, will be sluggish, and this is probably a good indicator that they might deserve a trip to the vet.
Hey, I can't resist the temptation while we have quality time and the doctor is in, and based on all the stuff in your book, caution us about some of the other summertime woes that you have covered in the Survival Medicine Handbook. Sun exposure, for instance. It's serious business, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Holland. Sun exposure is serious business. You know, the heat kills hundreds of people in the United States every year, and it hospitalizes thousands more. And in this situation, we actually see more injuries and deaths from the heat than we have from any other natural disaster, maybe outside of Hurricane Katrina. You know, people know to use sunscreen, but very few of them know how to use it appropriately. You always have to apply it 15 minutes before you go out in the sun to let it absorb, not once you're on the beach and in the sun. Also, you have to frequently reapply it during the day. That is so important. You know, you sweat, you go in the water perhaps, and that sunscreen loses its potency. You absolutely have to reapply it frequently.
Poison ivy, if you know you've been in contact, you have a bit of a grace period to go scrub up with soap and water, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I recommend a specific soap. That soap is called Fels Naphtha, Fels-Naphtha, and that is a soap that was used once as a laundry detergent. You find it in ads in old magazines back from the 1940s, but it is an excellent way to get resin off of your hands and off of your skin and even off of your clothes. The problem is that you have to do it within an hour or so of coming in from your poison ivy adventure.
And once you get it, don't scratch it, right?
No, absolutely. I'll tell you, it will be almost impossible not to have an overwhelming urge to scratch. But if you do, you'll wind up breaking the skin. And if you break the skin, you know, the skin is your armor. And any defect in that armor can lead to infections, some of which can be pretty serious.
Yeah, I had a friend a couple of summers ago who got it so bad she ended up in the emergency room, and I guess they gave her steroids or something to fight back because she had been scratching. But the calamine lotion works if you see that you've got it, right?
It works to some extent. It's not going to get rid of all of your symptoms, and it doesn't really speed up recovery. But the good news is that even if you use nothing at all, you will be better in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Hey, we started out talking about Lyme disease, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention now reports a tripling of the number of disease cases resulting from mosquito, tick, and flea bites nationally over 13 years. CDC says rising temperatures are partly to blame, and I'm reading that Maine leads the nation in Lyme disease incidents. Over the past 3 decades, their summers are growing hotter and longer. So we're definitely seeing some fallout from creeping climate change with Lyme disease, aren't we?
You're absolutely right. You know, summers are indeed getting hotter, and when the summers are warmer, then the ticks have the opportunity to be active, in other words, looking for people to bite, for a much longer period of time during the year. And so for that reason, you'll see more cases of Lyme disease. The other reasons why we're seeing more is that there, believe it or not, is a burgeoning mouse and deer population. Mice, field mice, are the most popular target for juvenile ticks, which can spread the disease. And deer are the favorite target for the adult ticks. And one other thing is what I call suburban sprawl. You know, the farms and nurseries are selling their properties to developers, and what's happening is now your gardens, in a lot of cases, are closer to the forest, closer to where the ticks are, and you're exposed to them more often. So it may be multifactorial, but I'll tell you that hotter summers are a big part of it.
Dr. Joe Alton, doomandbloom.net, and the highly recommended Survival Medicine Handbook. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. That is the big picture. If you missed any part of this week's show, or if you would like to share it, thanks in advance, you can, where you'll find all our shows at youtube.com/thebigpictureRT. Watch anytime, anywhere, on any device. And if you see us somewhere else, you can also find RT America on DirecTV channel 321, Dish channel 280, and on the free Pluto TV app at channel 132. I'm Holland Cook in Washington, and on Twitter in the meantime at Holland Cook. Question more.